More and more countries around the world are holding the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, accountable for the cover-up and spread of the CCP virus that created this pandemic. At the same time, topics like desinization and restructuring of the global supply chain away from China have been in many discussions. Recently, financial officials from the Communist Party indicated that this pandemic accelerated and intensified desinization that has formed in the financial field, creating an international alliance that rejects China and excludes the yuan currency. The chairman of the National Institution for Finance and Development and former vice president of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, CASS, Li Yang, told the media on May 9 that the CCP virus pandemic may accelerate deglobalization, especially the process of desinization. Hong Kong Economic Times quoted Li Yang, "At the beginning of this pandemic, a shortage of US dollars occurred in the world, and he believed that this is a very terrible thing. He said every dollar shortage in history has strengthened the status of the dollar as an international reserve currency. Shortly after the US dollar shortage, 9 central banks signed currency swap agreements. There are 2 things worth noting. One is that the Central Bank of China is not in the agreement, and the other is that there is no yuan in this network. This is a very dangerous tendency. That is, desinize," Li said. He continued, "At the same time, the 2.0 version of the digital currency, Libra, has come out recently. It is worth noting that this digital currency is denominated in several currencies, but no RMB in this valued currency basket. Some experts believe that the yuan or RMB has no international status, so there is no question about whether it stays or leaves the currency market."
He, referring to Li Yang, probably misunderstood the real value of the RMB and thought that China's RMB had a high international status. In fact, China's RMB is worth nothing in the international financial market because it is not even a freely convertible currency. When it is not a freely convertible currency, it is impossible for it to reserve its value, to be a reserve currency, or to be used in the international trade.
Li Yang further said, "Internationally, especially in the financial field, an alliance that excludes the RMB and China is being formed."
What is the big deal about the demonetization of RMB yuan? China's RMB only accounts for less than 1% of the world's currency basket. The RMB has no credit and is not even used by a few countries. There is not even 1 RMB in $100 worldwide, so what is the point? He, referring to Li Yang, is downplaying the entire situation because if the world wants to decouple from China, it is not even a question of demonetization.
Frank believes that desinization has already started after the trade war between the United States and China last year, which accelerated the shift of supply chains. He said the CCP virus pandemic has led to a more radical desinization.
Talking from the point of view of the entirety of supply chains and of the global economy, desinization is a very clear trend and has already started long before the pandemic. During the pandemic, companies that have not yet left China have been impacted severely. For instance, Japanese and Korean auto manufacturing plants are located in Wuhan. Because other countries do not manufacture low-end products, they put these supply chains in China. Through this pandemic, they are now shifting the supply chain to many other countries.
Frank further indicated that another reason to accelerate the process of desinization is that the West has now seen the malign behavior of the Chinese Communist Party. A few years ago, many countries around the world have shifted pharmaceutical and medical equipment supply chains to China. But during this pandemic, the CCP used medical supplies such as masks as a form of diplomacy and bargaining chip to directly threaten many Western countries, but they don't care about the lives of their own people. As a result, Western countries realized the corrupt nature of the CCP and decided to completely shift their pharmaceutical supply chains out of China. He Junqiao believes that what is more terrifying for the CCP is the growing international demand to hold it accountable for its cover-up of the virus.
How will the CCP respond if demanding accountability becomes a force? Once China's economy is decoupled from the international community, their economy will be devastated because in the past decades of reform and opening up, state-owned enterprises have solved very little problems of unemployment. Basically, foreign and private enterprises, individual households have solved the vast majority of employment. This employment situation is very serious.
He believes that if the world decouples from China, it will be impossible for the Chinese people to rely solely on agriculture.
You said these people and even the recent graduates can go back to the countryside and do farming, but the Chinese land per capita is just a little over 1 acre, and the rural land per capita is 2 acres of land. These 2 acres of land cannot be used entirely to grow food. Some still have to grow vegetables, vegetable oil, fodder, Chinese medicine, fruit trees, and other crops. The actual land to grow food is even less. The rural land simply cannot solve the rural livelihood problems.
He said that the so-called reform designed by former leader Deng Xiaoping at the time totally relied on the inflows of foreign investments and technology. Once China decouples from the international world, the country would face a huge problem.